But we're going to bring it right now because I know he is very limited in time, and hopefully he doesn't shoot me with a Nerf gun or shoot me with a super soaker because I don't want to mess his name up. This is the man himself, the creator of the upcoming Netflix series, The Toys That Made Us, that is debuting this month, December 22nd. I guess he's going to tell us the actual time if he knows. None other than the man himself, Brian Volk-Weiss. How you feeling, man? Brian Volk-Weiss, how you feeling?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing good. Doing good. Did I mess your name up? Did I say it right?
No, dude, you nailed it. You nailed it. Dead on. Perfect.
That is good. Welcome to you Under the Mask Radio. It is a pleasure and an honor to have you on tonight. Well, here it's 7 p.m. Eastern Time. What area, or should I say, what time zone are you calling from?
I'm in Los Angeles, so it's about 4 o'clock. And thank you very much for having me on the show. Really appreciate it.
No problem, no problem. Much love from L.A. Now, to start things off, if we can call you Brian, if you want us to call you Mr. Volk or Mr. Weiss, what would you like us to call you?
Please call me Brian.
Well, we can do the acronym like Saltine said, BVW. We can call you that based upon your name.
I love that as well. Many people call me that.
We'll call you BVW. Okay,
yeah.
a lot of speculation with your show coming up. This is only a matter of weeks. And just to remind everybody, tonight's show, you can tweet us at @tech_UTMR. That is at @tech_UTMR. You can also contact us on Twitter. You can also contact us on Facebook, Under the Mat Radio, our like page and our group page if you want to contact us with any quick questions. BVW, your show, the Toys Among Us, a lot of speculation, a lot of talks, is debuting on Netflix the same day as the Will Smith movie Bright. That's not important because we're talking about.
I just want to interrupt you. I'm so sorry. It is very hard to hear you.
Okay, hold on. I know we're dealing with some technical difficulties. So, team, go ahead, try to take over while I check up on my mic.
That's better. Sorry, I couldn't hear what you were saying.
Is that better? Okay, all right. Is that better?
There we go. Perfect.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, sorry about that. My mic was acting up. But yeah, your show debuts the 22nd of December. The Toys That Made Us. Give us a little history, if you can, about your show. How did you come up with the idea? And tell us the hard work, and I'm sure it took a lot of work to get this off the ground.
The idea was basically, I'm a huge toy. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, we're here.
Oh, sorry. Hold. There's a weird beeping. Hold on a second.
Yeah, it is weird.
Yeah,
hello?
There's a phone ringing.
Yeah, not dealing with what's actually going on. Okay, you still there?
Hey, I'm back. Yeah, there was something weird. I had tried calling in before, and it just called me back. So sorry about that.
There's no problem. Yeah. Your number twice is in the switchboard.
Yeah, no worries. So, basically the premise is I'm a huge toy collector, almost 40 years, and I'm also a big history buff. So I noticed that there was not a lot of information out there about some of the great toy lines like G.I. Joe or Barbie or Star Wars. So I took my love of history and my love of toys, and I combined them into what would eventually become the show. And then I'm a producer primarily of comedy, and I do a lot of business with Netflix. So I just kept, bugging them and knocking on their door saying, hey, we should do the show about toys. We should do the show about toys. And at some point, I didn't piss them off, and I guess I annoyed them enough. So we were able to put a deal together and make the show.
Keep on knocking till somebody opens up the door, correct?
Yeah, pretty much. Just don't be rude about it.
Yeah, that'd be nice about it. Question, when you think of toys, what is the first toy or first toy line or even toy commercial that comes to your head?
I mean, for me, it was, probably a tie between Star Wars and Lego. I had Star Wars and Lego. I don't even remember a time when I did not have those in my life. So that's that's basically the answer.
Now, have you ever stepped on a Lego? Have you had the unfortunate event like we have of stepping on a Lego 5 foot or getting hit with them in the head and realize how much they hurt?
Yeah, I never stepped on a Lego until I had kids, and now I can't walk around at night without stepping on a Lego, and it's like torture.
Yeah, it definitely is. What a lot of fans, our fans and fans all around have been asking is, the question is, from what we know, is it 8 episodes? Is that correct?
We made 8 episodes total over the last 14 months, but the season is being broken into 2 parts. So there's season 1A, and then there is season 1B. Season 1A comes out this Friday, and that's 4 episodes, which are Star Wars, Barbie, G.I. Joe, and He-Man. And then in early 18, Season 1B comes out, and that is Star Trek, Hello Kitty, Transformers, and Lego.
You said Hello Kitty. A lot of people was amazed of how much Hello Kitty has taken over the waves. So many collectors. I know my daughter was in Hello Kitty for a little bit, and some people just outgrows it. Hello Kitty, what made you decide to focus on that? Because we was looking at a lot of people comments, and some people was like, did you talk about Hasbro, and a lot of other lines, Tonka, and a lot of people were surprised that you picked Hello Kitty, which I'm glad you did. What was your inspiration for picking that?
So basically, when we chose, Netflix told us we could do 8 episodes, so we had to choose 8 toys. So the formula, which is a fancy way of saying, like, shit that I thought of at the back of my brain. Oh, can I curse? What's the rule of cursing?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can say whatever you want. There's no limit. You say what you want.
Tone that down. Anyway, so basically, here's what I came up with. Right or wrong, here's what I came up with. It's like, we wanted to make sure that the toys we were doing, all of them were in production the whole time. Like, they never went out and then came back, or they never went away and never came back. Number 2, I had this vision of like the Mount Rushmore of toys. And I wanted to make sure that the toys were iconic, that, you could have the leader of every toys on the Mount Rushmore of toys. So, like, did Optimus Prime, if there was a Mount Rushmore for toys, would Optimus Prime be on it? Yes. Would there be one for Cobra Commander? Yes. Would Barbie be on it? Yes. So that was the second thing. And then the third thing was I wanted all the toy lines to have a rabid fan base, meaning there was conventions for that toy and then people dressed up like that toy and whatever. So those were the 3 theories. Hello Kitty, I fully admit, and we tackle this in the episode, is it a toy? Is it a brand? Is it a world? But the reason why I included it in the initial 8 was it is iconic. It could be on Mount Rushmore. There is a rabid fan base where people dress up like her and people go to conventions and stuff. And then the other thing, especially as it relates to Hello Kitty, which was kind of the 4th rule, which was, is it a good story? Will people learn stuff and enjoy learning about it, and is it interesting? And the answer to that was yeah. It was interesting and cool. And, we only had 8 episodes. A lot of people are saying, you should have done My Little Pony. You should have done Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And listen, maybe they were right. But at the end of the day, I wanted to make sure that we made something that wasn't always obvious. So if people are out there saying, I don't know why they did Hello Kitty, that doesn't make sense, then fair enough. That's their opinion, and they have every right to it, and I respect that. But I want, there's just a lot of options out there, and I wanted people to, realize, sometimes we're going to do stuff a little out of the safety zone.
Thank you for that. And I'm glad that you took a chance, you did something, and you talked about a toy line that is out of the safety zone and it's just not commonplace, like you said. And I think with doing that, you create even more interest because if you did a poll, top first 4 episodes of this show, who we're going to talk about, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would never thought of Hello Kitty. And the fact that you did decide to do it, I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to can't wait for the episode to happen.
Well, I think it was a little risky that we're a show about toys. We have the word toys in our name, and we're openly saying, hey, you know what? Maybe 1/8 of our episodes, maybe it's not a toy. Maybe it's a brand. And by the way, we interviewed hundreds of people, and some people said it was a toy, some people said it was a brand. So, but we're very open about it. We're not trying to pretend it's a toy for sure. We tackled the subject matter, and, hopefully in a humorous, fun way, we told a good story.
Yeah, and we cannot wait to actually watch it. I'm going to turn it over to our social media manager, Saltine. Go ahead, brother. I know you had a couple questions.
Hello, Brian. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. How are you? Where are you guys? Where are you guys right now?
Baltimore, Maryland, my friend.
Oh, love Baltimore. Great crabs, great food, a lot of history. Love Baltimore.
Definitely. All right. My question is, name 5 top toys in different eras, like, for example, the 80s, 90s, the 2000s, and modern day today, the best way you can, or if you can remember them by heart.
I mean, the number one toy since the year it premiered up until 2017 is Star Wars.
Okay.
Star Wars has been number one, unless they weren't making Star Wars toys between the Return of the Jedi and Phantom Menace. Star Wars is always. Are you talking about like numbers and sales? Or are you talking about my opinion?
Basically, do the years in your opinion.
Oh, in my opinion. Oh shit.
Yep.
Sorry. Okay. In my opinion, then that's a different story. So yeah, definitely 70s was Star Wars. 80s was like a tie between G.I. Joe and Transformers. 90 was, G.I. Joe was still pretty good in the early 90s. I personally sort of bowed out of Transformers, even though I know a lot of people really got into it in the 90s. The thing for me that was huge in the 90s was the Super Soaker. I love the Super Soaker. Most people, I don't know if that's a toy or not, but that for me was huge in the 90s. And then, I really wasn't playing with toys. I was collecting them by the 2000s. So I can't, again, I can tell you what I was collecting. Like, I was really into Robotech. I was really into Star Trek toys. And, that's when a lot of, like, Art Asylum and NECA and Hot Toys, that's when all these other toy brands, really high-end brands, started coming out. So I got more into brands of toys in the 2000s. But yeah, I think you'd be pretty freaked out with me if I told you I was playing with toys in college and certainly after college.
No, actually, I still play with my action figures sometimes, too. When you get bored, you want to just play them because they look nice. And like, hey, I want to play them sometimes, even create artwork. Really, you seen the pictures online where the artists be making, like, the toys doing action and everything? And that motion caption stuff?
It's the best.
Yes, it's awesome. I love it. Oh, my gosh. And also, forgot to mention that Tech is a pop collector. He is, like, the astonished pop collector. I have never seen nothing like this before. He probably have competition out there, but he's the first I have ever seen somebody who collect pops, and he is major crazy about them.
I have probably 5 or 6 of them, so I'm not like a big crazy fan, but I got 5 or 6 of them.
I don't even want to.
Pops? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
sorry.
I don't even want to tell you how many I have on air. I could probably text it to you and let you know.
How many you got?
Tech, this is Afrocentric Queen. I'm sorry. Brian, how are you this evening?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good. I have seen Tech's collection. I just have to believe me. And he's telling the truth. He's probably going to have to text you the numbers, but
probably about 1,700.
It's
probably
crazy.
About 1,700.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
1,700. Do you really?
1,700. Yes, I did.
I've only seen half of them.
Yeah, she's only seen half, and I do have exclusives and stuff that are vaulted. But like I said,
my entire collection is probably less than 500. A collection of everything.
I wish. I know they've been around since '06, and it's still thousands that I don't have, and I'm not one of those that I have to have every one. I have specific ones. But like I said, after we're done here, after the show, I'll text you a few pictures so you can see it. But
that is most impressive. Most impressive.
Thank you. With toys, how important are toys to you? And I know we're all grown. We're all over 25, 30 plus here. You know, you had toys that used to shoot stuff, and you had the commercials, the Nerf guns, the Super Soakers, and, you know, some stuff even got banned. And now it seems with kids today, you know, for us, it was a punishment to stay in the house. We was outside. We played with toys. We played with
me too.
You know, we traded, you know, our toys, and I was the person that wanted to get the toy back. We used to come up with deals. I'll hold Jake the Snake, and I'll trade you my Batman. Or I'll trade you my Optimus Prime, you know, for my Mighty Max. Or even girls, my little pretty princess for, you know, whatever the hell, Barbie, whatever it was. What about kids today? Do you think toys are still as important because you have the Xbox Ones and the PS4s and you have all these video games and a lot of kids just want to stay in the house and play games all day? Do you feel that toys still have a relevant place in a child's life, or do you think that could sadly diminish?
I mean, I think that, I mean, I have a 3.5-year-old daughter and a 2.5-year-old son. You know, my daughter is as excited about Hatchimals as I was about Star Wars. Like the way G.I. Joe figures for me were crack. What are those horrible things? What are they? Oh God, what stupid Shopkins. Like Shopkins for her is crack. So, you know, but she also has her iPad and she watches. You know, by the way, the majority of what she watches on her iPad. I don't know if you're familiar with this horrible thing called the Egg Surprise or Eggs. Who the hell? It's all about opening toys, little kids' toys. So yeah, does my daughter have an iPad? That when I was her age, did I have an iPad? No, I did not. But yeah, man. I mean, the number one place she wants to go is Toys R Us, and like I said, she is obsessed with her Hatchimals and Shopkins.
Wow, that is right. What toys did you hate? I know we talk about toys we love, but I'm a collector. I collect a lot of comic books and other things. We all have our collections. We all had like a toy line or a line of toys or a certain type of toy that we hated or we just didn't. I hated the Mighty Max toys. I didn't see what the hell the purpose was. You can't play with it. It's like a little mini thing and you just move it. It was stupid to me. I didn't get it. What about you, BVW? What toy lines did you hate? You was like, it's no point, it's stupid, it's overrated. What about you? Who did you hate?
You know what's funny, man? First of all, I just want to say no one has asked me this question, and I love this question. But second of all, I wouldn't say I hated it. That's a strong word. But I did not like He-Man. I was never into He-Man. I didn't get it.
You.
I've never been into swords and sandals, and I never liked it. And I didn't like the cartoon. But I will tell you this. I know people are going to go crazy, but as I have now produced a TV show about He-Man, and you know that's also something I just want to clear up for everybody. Every episode is about one toy, so we don't jump. A lot of people think we cover lots of different things. We do not. We cover 8 stories, and each episode is one toy. The other misconception is a lot of people think the show just takes place in the 80s. The show takes place when the toy started, which for G.I. Joe and Barbie, that was in the 60s. So that's that. But I was not into He-Man. But since I've now produced a show about He-Man, I am in love with He-Man. And I have never bought a He-Man figure in my life until about 5 months ago. And now I have, like, I guarantee you, by this day next year, I will probably have an entire shelf of my collection full of He-Man figures. Because, like, I get it. I didn't get it when I was a kid. I get it now, and I love it. But to answer your question, I was never into He-Man. Another toy I was never into, and I remember everybody was playing with it, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? Remember those little pink muscle figures?
Yes, yeah, I remember those, yeah.
I never got into that. And I'm always like, yeah, there's too many of them. They don't have any things. They can't hold guns. Like, yeah, that's not for me.
With that, speaking of He-Man, Dolph Lundgren, the original He-Man, he was the original Punisher. He was Drago, of course, in Rocky IV. If he dies, he dies. If you can't talk about it, when you got a chance to meet him, he's also, a lot of people don't know, he's a former Olympic archer, too. A lot of people don't know that. So, talk about your experience with Dolph Lundgren. Was you frank with him? Did you tell him, look, I don't get He-Man. I know you were He-Man, but I don't get it. Did you tell him, or did you just keep it quiet?
No, we were pretty frank with him, and he was great. He was, first of all, he's a really nice guy, and he was really smart. But, one of the things that I just really want to also say about him is, and I didn't realize this about him in the beginning, but this guy's doing like 2 giant movies. He's doing 3 TV shows. This is a busy guy. And he literally, the 2 movies he was doing, one shot in Australia and I think one shot in Hungary or something. I could be wrong about that.
Wow.
But this guy literally was in L.A. for like 8 hours, which included sleep. And he drove all the way to our office to do the interview. I mean, he was so cool. We were trying to interview him for like 6 months before we finally made it happen. And it was literally just him being a cool guy, which is why he did it. But no, we were pretty upfront with him, and one of the things, we hit him with was one of the creators of He-Man is pretty vocal about how he did not think that Dolph Lundgren was a good He-Man. And he made this, one of the things he said, he's like, he wasn't big enough. They did, like, fake muscles. So we said that to Dolph, and we were like, hey, man, just want to let you know, one of the original creators of He-Man is saying all this stuff about you. And he laughed his head off, and then he was like, look at the movie. Like, I don't have fake muscles. Look at the movie. Those are muscles. You can't paint on muscles. Clearly wasn't a suit. Look at Batman. That's a suit. I was sitting there basically naked. Those were my real muscles. So we were pretty direct with him.
Oh, man, that is great. Now, He-Man, okay, Dolph was He-Man. Dolph was the Punisher. Now, remember Conan, the Barbarian, another guy for sword, Arnold Schwarzenegger. So were you more of a fan of Conan the Barbarian, or did you just not get the whole man with a sword thing?
I'm not into anything with swords and sandals, so I was not into Conan at all. At all. I'm not into Lord of the Rings. Like, I need guns and spaceships and lasers and hardware and vehicles with engines and gas and oil.
Gas, oil, guns.
The only thing in my entire life, the only thing I have ever been into that I would consider to be swords and sandals is Game of Thrones. And that's just because it's the greatest writing in the history of television. But that is it. Anything with dragons before that, I didn't even like the DreamWorks, I Lost My Dragon or whatever that thing was called.
Not even Labyrinth with David Bowie?
Nope. I recognize the style and I respect the beauty of what was done and the painstaking way that movie was made. But I did not like that film. I did not enjoy that film.
Speaking of spaceships, we're going to put you on the spot, Brian.
I know where this is going.
You, my we call you brother, in the business, have a addiction. We don't want to say fetish because fetish seems kind of like weird and kind of like quirky. You have an addiction with, if I'm right, the Star Trek ships, the Enterprise.
Yes.
Or anything that is Star Trek. Now, can you attest? Is this true? Okay.
I mean, listen, I can't compete with you with your 1,700 pops, but I have about 150 Star Trek ships. I have an entire shelf of shelves only with Star Trek ships.
Okay, so you are a big fan of Star Trek.
Yes.
Okay, what is your favorite series? A lot of people we know, because I have friends. My stepmother was a big Star Trek fan. My Uncle Kenny in Jersey was a big Star Trek fan. He didn't have, but he had the figures, and they was all like, I wonder if he still had them. What is the favorite series for you, and what series, and you got to be honest here, because how we do things, what series just sucked to you?
My favorite character was Kirk, and my favorite series was Next Generation. Like, I love the Star Trek movies, like 1 through 6, but I love Next Generation, the series, and a couple of those movies. Without a doubt, the worst Star Trek series was Voyager. And the reason it was so bad was because the cast is literally the worst cast in all of Star Trek. The thing about Star Trek is Gene Roddenberry, who by all extents was a very flawed human being, he doesn't get enough credit for being a phenomenal casting director. You know, he cast Kirk, he cast Spock, he cast Picard. And by the time they got to Voyager, he was gone. And I don't know what they were thinking with that cast. I think if they had had a better cast, it would have been a much better show. Even, by the way, I'll go so far as to say, even with the same scripts.
Now, I like Star Trek. Movies-wise, I was a little more into Star Wars, which we'll talk about in a second. I don't know anyone who didn't love TNG, who didn't like Next Generation. I mean, you had Q, you had Whoopi Goldberg, you had Dana Troy, which everybody had a crush on. You had LeVar Burton, Rita Rainbow, and Kunta Kinte on there. You had, Riker. Everybody was on there. You know, Picard, who's probably been bald-headed all his life. I don't even imagine with hair. I mean, everyone, the cast was great.
Yeah.
A lot of people I know. So go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
A lot of people I know, the series that they hated, Brian, was Enterprise. The one that had the guy from Quantum Leap in it.
Enterprise was very flawed, but it still had episodes. Like, season 1 was great. The pilot was great. And listen, there was definitely some terrible actors in that show. The Mayweather was horrible. The engineer. Oh no, I love the engineering guy. I love Trip. But the security expert. I mean, literally, I shouldn't be saying this. This is bad. I shouldn't be saying any of this stuff. You know what? Is this live? Are we live right now? Are we live right now?
Oh, we're always live. Yeah, we're always live.
All right. I'm sorry I said that. Everybody. Everybody was great. But I loved the first season of that show. It definitely, the whole thing with the Sula band was horrible. But I would still take Voyager. I would still take Enterprise over Voyager. I forget her name. Kate Mo. There we go again. Never mind. No. I'm getting in trouble. I'm backing off. I'm not slamming talent.
Well, what I will say to you, as a surprise to you, Brian, and because I'm a big pop collector, what I do have in my personal collection, and you'll be the only one, and my staff can attest to this, because I do not give anything away from my personal collection, but because we love the work that you've done, I do have a Captain Kirk Star Trek pop that we will be giving you as a thank you for coming to the show, of course. Of course, yeah. Now you can have 6. Now you can have 6. You had 5, you can have 6. Now this will let you know.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you do send me that, and you're very kind to do it, I will prominently put it in my collection and send you a picture.
Thank you for that. But yeah, seriously, we will send you a Captain Kirk pop. Now, this pop from my personal collection on behalf of the show, this is actually vaulted. So, which means that you do not make this pop anymore. It's retired, the mold is destroyed, and you cannot find this anywhere in any store. So the only way you can get this is either you get it from a personal collector, that's like from me or someone else, or if you go to like a comic book store and they're lucky enough to have it. Salty, my social media manager, was with me when I purchased this from a very known private collector that I will not mention. He does have ties with the Funko company. So I just want to let you know, live, as I say, as a thank you, we will be sending you that Captain Kirk vaulted pop figure. Now, you can take them out the box if you want. That's fine. You can keep them in the box. That's fine, too. But that mold is retired, so they do not produce them anymore.
Well, then that means I probably will not be taking them out of the box. That's an easy one.
Yes, it is. With Star Trek, you have 1 and 1A. You got season 1, 1A. Have you thought about season 2? If you have,
season 2 is only going to happen if season 1 does well. So we have to do well to get a second season. But if we're lucky enough to get a second season, you know, there's the obvious ones like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Hot Wheels, Matchbox Cars, and you got like Batman, Thundercats, Dungeons and Dragons, Mask, My Little Pony. You know, I'd love to do a Robotech episode, Power Rangers, Strawberry Shortcake, you know, and all that. So those are the ones we do. But you know, one of my dreams, if we do get a second season, and if we do get, you know, a nice number of episodes ordered, one of my dreams is to do an episode that's a theme and not just a toy line. And the theme I want to do is the toys that should have not been made, because there's a lot of toys that you literally look at, you know, and you're like, knowing what it takes to greenlight a toy into mass market production, how many people have to approve, how many people have to be involved. Like, my favorite example of this is, do you remember that movie in the 80s, Dune?
Yeah,
I do.
Oh, God.
David Lynch movie?
Yes.
Yeah, they made a whole toy line out of that. And it's like, what were you thinking? How did this get greenlit? So that's I want to do an episode about toys like that.
Well, it's a slogan that we say on the show. When we talk about movies, we say that never happened. You know, we talk about pro wrestling and MMA. We're like, okay, that never happened. Movies like Predator 2 or RoboCop 3, that never happened. We just try to erase it from our existence.
Wow! Whoa! You're putting Predator 2 in the same world as RoboCop 3? Wow, I don't know if I agree with that.
Out of the series, RoboCop 3 sucks. Predator 2,
RoboCop 3 is an F. But, I mean, Predator 2 is like a B+. I mean, that's a good film. It's not as good as the original.
I will say this. Before all the extra ones, when it was just Predator and Predator 2, I didn't like Predator 2. But going back and looking at it, you're right. And then with all the extra ones, the Alien versus Predator and the Requiem and the Predators and all these other ones, so I agree with you now. At first, I didn't like Predator 2, but now, like you said, Danny Glover was in it. Wasn't too bad. RoboCop 3, Home Alone 3, 4, and 5, those movies never happened. They never should have existed. Problem Child 3 never should have happened. Reason why I say it is toys that never should have happened could be something you could do for season 2. You can name it that if you want to. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of toys that we've seen that should.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree.
Mighty Max.
Give that Predator 2 a second look. It's a good film. The only problem with it is Schwarzenegger's not in it, but it's a good film. RoboCop 3, I mean, it's probably an F-. Nancy Allen's death in that movie is probably one of the funniest deaths in the history of film. But yeah, Predator 2. I stand by that.
Yeah, for you, Brian, we'll go back and watch it. You're pretty much right.
Thank you.
So, before we let you go, when you watch the series, we get to see the finished product. We get to see the glory, how everything goes. Take us through a day in the life of you, Brian, and even your production staff, of what it took to go through and to get even one episode, to even go to these people's houses with these collections. Say, do you have any funny stories as far as dealing with the collectors? Were they real protective? Was some a little free? Were they real protective over what they had? Is there anything you can tell us on that?
I mean, here's what I would tell you, and again, I'm doing my best to give you straight answers, but just sometimes it's hard to give a straight answer depending on what the question is. We basically, right or wrong, we made a list of people that we needed to interview, and we made a list of things and places and locations that we had to visit. And we went out and we just started filming and we just started interviewing. We did 306 interviews. We shot in 6 countries. We shot in 19 states. We shot in 5 cities in California alone. We went to Seattle twice. We went to Palm Desert twice. We went to Cincinnati twice. We went to Chicago 3 times. We went to Rhode Island 5 times. So basically, the way we did it, again, and I'm not saying this is the right way to do it, this might be the stupidest way on earth to do it, but we just kept, we had a team of researchers and, for lack of a better expression, quote, unquote, investigators, and we just researched and investigated and found people and filmed them, and we just would film it, and we would send the hard drives back to the editing bay, and we had story producers, and they would take the interviews, and they would basically, turn it into a TV show. The first cut that we sent to Netflix for Star Wars, which was the first episode we locked, the first cut for Star Wars was 2.5 hours long, but the cut that I got for the first time before it went to Netflix was almost 4 hours long. So, and that's basically how we made every episode. So it started with like a 3 to 4 hour cut, then it turned into a 2-hour cut, and then we very painfully, we got every episode under an hour. So that's the way we did all that. And then to your second question of the answer of people we met and surprises, one of the things that we tried really hard to do was not only find people that were very important to the story of a toy line, but also find these people that had never been interviewed before. So, there were some people that were in their mid-80s, going on 90, that had, A, never been interviewed in their entire lives, B, hadn't talked about Star Wars or He-Man in 30 years, and, we found them and interviewed them. And it was just many, many times, a lot of these interviews, by the way, took place in Cincinnati. We're sitting there with these 85-year-old men and women, getting them to talk about the glory days of their lives and get the stories to make our TV show. And, you'd see these older people walk into the room, a little nervous, a little scared, a little, trepidatious. You'd start the interview, and I learned you start asking easy questions. You talk about their families, you get them comfortable. And then, dude, I'm telling you guys, if we did this 10 times, and we did this 30, 40 times, but for every 10 interviews like this, 6 or 7 of these men and women were crying by the end of the interview. They were crying because, they were remembering the successes and failures of their lives. Many memories, many events, many things people were talking about they hadn't thought about in 30 years. So it was just this very powerful thing. And, in a humorous way, there were many people we spoke to who were like, I'll do the interview, but I'm not going to give you what you need. I'm going to be a terrible interview. I'm not, there's stuff I can't say. And then you interview them, and 5 minutes in, they're telling you everything. So it was just, it was just it was really cool. It was a really cool experience, to hear these people talking about their golden years.
Wow. That's great, Brian. Thank you for that. Afro-Century Queen, I know you had a question real quick for Brian.
Yes, Brian. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, so when I was growing up, I had toys like Jax and Baby Alive and the Easy Bake Oven. So if you do go into season 2, or if you even go any further than that, would you be talking about those toys?
Listen, I'm going to be honest with you. The odds of us doing an episode about Jax is slim and none, and slim
Right.
left town. But Easy Bake Oven, you have my word, we will do an episode about Easy Bake Oven. Easy Bake Oven is a really interesting toy because until Star Wars, Easy Bake Oven was making a staggering percentage of the profit for Kenner. So Easy Bake Oven really helped keep Kenner in business until Star Wars blew up. And, a lot of the old Kenner people we spoke to always talked about Easy Bake Oven. Like, it was a huge part of their lives. So, yes, Easy Bake Oven, yes. Jax, I don't think so.
Okay, because right now with the Easy Oven, it's something totally updated and new, and I'm like,
it's crazy.
Okay, I just had 1 or 2, cakes that I could make. Now they're making cookies and pies and all this other stuff, but that'll be cool. I will definitely be watching that one.
I don't
Thank
know
you.
when the last time is you saw an Easy Bake Oven and the quote-unquote ingredients that came with it, but when we were in Cincinnati, we saw one. Like, I'm telling you, those ingredients would be illegal now. Like, they are,
that's what I'm saying.
I mean, like, toxic, disgusting, horrible.
Oh, no.
Goo. So,
Wow.
Yeah. But no,
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with Easy Bake Oven. Like, I learned so much about it this year. So, yes, without a doubt. But
Okay,
no Jax.
cool. Thank you.
No Jax.
Okay, no
Brian,
Jax.
no Jax at all. I'm going to say this, Brian, and I've never said this publicly to anyone. Speaking of Kenner, I actually do have the full, remember the Super Friends, the Kenner line in 1984?
Yeah,
I actually have the whole set, the whole line of Kenner I got from a friend, from a private collector.
If we get a big order, we'll probably cover Super Friends. I mean, we're definitely going to do Batman / Superman, but I think we would do Super Friends. That we get, on our Facebook page, we get questions all the time, and we get a lot of questions about Super Friends. You got that big Hall of Justice thing?
Yeah, I don't have the Hall of Justice. Nice. I do have all the figures that was in the 84 Kenner line. The one that Cyborg is the most rare. Yeah. That I have him, Clark Kent.
I'm shocked you got room for him with all your pops.
Yeah, I mean, I just had some shows built, so I'm still in the works of that. With that, as far as toys, the Enterprise, because we want people to get to know about you, Brian. We know about the series coming up. We can't wait. What is it about the ships, if you call them ships? And forgive me, because I know about Star Trek, but I'm not well-versed in it. What about the ships of Star Trek that you love and that makes you love them so much? And if you can, tell us your favorite ship and tell us your least favorite.
Yeah, I mean, what I can tell you about Star Trek is it's 2 things. Number one, I think if reincarnation is a real thing, I'm pretty sure I was in the Navy in a past life, so I love the Navy. So what I've always found about Star Trek is it's like a futuristic space Navy, especially the old series and Next Generation. I love that aspect of it. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is, like, I'm not a very religious person. I wasn't raised with religion. But for me, the closest thing I would have comparable to a religion, and by no means am I saying Star Trek is a religion, but for me it gave me a code. Like it told me, it gave me rules in life to follow. Seek out new life and new civilizations. Don't mess with people unless they mess with you. That's the prime directive. So I really like the code that Star Trek had for me personally. I always say Star Wars changed my career. I probably would have been a dentist or a lawyer in New York if it wasn't for Star Wars. Star Wars is why I'm in the entertainment business. But Star Trek affected me personally and kind of gave me like a code of life to follow. My favorite ship, without a doubt, is the refit Enterprise, which was seen in Star Trek The Motion Picture. In theory, it was destroyed in Star Trek 3, but we still saw it through the end of Star Trek 6. That is my favorite Star Trek ship whatsoever, and I think it's one of the most beautiful shapes in all of design. If I'm not allowed to be cheesy and use the Enterprise as my answer, then without a doubt, my favorite starship is the Akira-class Federation starship. And I actually have a model of one of those on my desk in the office. It's the only Star Trek anything in my office. I have an Akira-class starship on my desk. And in terms of the ships I hate, there's definitely a bunch I hate, but, I really, to be completely honest with you, I like almost all Federation ships and most Klingon ships. I love the Romulan Warbird, but I'm not really into kind of like the wacky, weird ships, especially the ships that were in Enterprise and Voyager. Like the Suliban ships were disgusting. The ships in Voyager, with those people that like sewed their faces together and shit. Like I don't know what those people were called, but I hated those ships. The Curzon, I think, or something. Yeah. So there you go. That's probably more than you wanted to know, but there's your answer.
Now, one thing about us is that even though we cover pro wrestling and we cover TV and movies and MMA, we have a lot of famous people on our show. We always love having guys tell us about stuff that we don't know, we may not know, because no one knows it all. So if you tell us about Star Trek, cool. Like I said, I gravitated more towards Star Wars. I know a little bit more, but I'm not dummy about Star Trek. I know who's who. I know, the villains, and if trivia came to where my life depended on it, I would die 1,000 deaths. But I'm also not the dumbest Star Trek person. I will say for me personally, and then we'll go around the round two real quick. My favorite ship for Star Trek would be the Borg. It was that box. Not sure with the actual box. For some reason, I just always loved the box. Fan just sent, I didn't even know that the Borg had a circle ship.
Yeah.
If I'm correct, I had no idea about that. I'm pretty sure, Brian, you know the actual names of them.
They don't have names. Just called Borg ship.
Wow. Yeah, okay, I see it. Thank you, Fan. Thank you, Justin. It says Borg Spear and Borg Cube.
Yeah, exactly.
Had no idea it was a spear. Now, if you can, when did the spear come into place? Because all I remember is the Borg Cube.
I believe, and if I'm wrong, I don't want to get in trouble, but I believe Star Trek First Contact.
Thank you. A couple other ships. First Federation flagship looks like a bunch of, like, bubble gum. There's like a bunch of circles or like corn pops. Are you familiar with this?
Not off the top of my head. No, not the first Federation flagship.
Just imagine imagine a Christmas ornament with a bunch of corn pop cereal pasting on it, red and yellow.
Huh.
Exactly how this looks. Thank you. Justin sent us a big old poster of all these ships. I had no idea it was this many ships in Star Trek. But he did have some Yeah.
Yeah, I am not familiar with that one.
Yeah, it even had miscellaneous ships, such as if you know about the vessel, Han Snook vessel. Looks like a taser gun. Justin must be a big fan in the Star Trek like you, Brian, because I haven't heard of any of these. But of course, they had the USS Enterprise, the the ones from the TV shows and from the movies. Thank you for that. Ever since your queen did say, Brian, that she is not a fan of Star Trek at all.
No, I'm not a Trekkie fan. That. I'm sorry. I'm not a Trekkie fan. I love Star Wars. I love Star Wars, but I don't know everything about Star Wars, but I can sit through a Star Wars movie and watch it. But Trekkie, no, I'm not a Trekkie fan.
You and my wife will get along.
Question from James from Nashville. Brian can't wait for the Netflix series. Question, what are your thoughts on Star Wars Episode 8, if you did see it?
I did see it, and with respect, I would like to plead the fifth.
Thank you, Brian. Go ahead,
yeah, there you go. Well, when I dodge a question, I dodge it head on.
Go ahead, Saltine.
Oh, sorry about that. Yes, Brian, I know that you're the president of Comedy Dynamic, and you have worked with some of our past guests like Marlon Wayans. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I just saw Marlon last week. We just produced his Netflix special. He's the best.
Oh, wow.
Nicest guy ever. So talented. I mean, just doesn't get enough credit for how talented he is. But I'm sure one day he will.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, my background is in comedy. We're the biggest producer of stand-up comedy out there. And that's my background. And you'll see in The Toys That Made Us a lot of comedy, a lot of humor. Because I firmly believe comedy is the way that really helps bridge communication. You know, if you use comedy, it's just an easy, smooth way to say things that otherwise might be boring or harsh. So we tried to put a lot of humor in our show.
I agree, and you need that humor because if you don't have that, it's going to be like a bland show. Like, oh man, come on, just say it, admit it, just say it.
Right.
When you bring comedy into shows, it makes the show like good.
That is right, and I apologize. I just want to give you a heads up. I got to jump at 5 o'clock.
Oh, yes.
That is no problem, sir. We're just about to let you go. Last question before you go ahead and do a plug, Brian. You've been a great guest, one of our best that we've had in the past 5 years.
Thank you. That's really cool. Thank you very much.
And shout out to you mentioned the Turtles. We also had Kevin Eastman on the show. Great guy.
Nice.
Very great guy.
Nice.
Cool guy. Now, if you could have a toy line of only 5, you love comedy. You've been in a comedy. You've met them all. You probably worked with a lot of them. If you, Brian, had the chance to make a toy line of only 5 comedians, what 5 comedians would they be, and what actual, would you say, add-on? It could be a weapon, since you love weapons, or love like a little add-on piece would you have them on? That would be our last question for this interview.
That's a great question, and again, not a question I have ever been asked before. I would do, let's see here, I would do Richard Pryor. I got some bad jokes about what his accessory could be, but I'll just say Richard Pryor.
I just want to see.
Then Bill Burr. Then Bill Burr's weapon would be like, I don't know, like maybe a megaphone. Then I'd probably go with Ali Wong, and she's always posting these videos where she's, doing all these dance moves. So maybe like a special dance suit or something. Then I would go with Bill Hicks. Obviously, his accessory would be a cigarette. And then I'm trying. It's funny. I know who I want to say, but I can't say him. So I will leave him. I will leave him out for now. But I mean, I'm real partial. You know, we just work with her, and I'm just so happy for all her success, and she's so charismatic. I think she'd make a great action figure. But, I mean, Tiffany Haddish is obviously on fire right now. You know, she just hosted SNL, and her, you know, her weapon would be, it would be, you know, she's a huge Tina Turner fan, so I give her some, like, Tina Turner, like, ninja stars that she could throw at people.
Wow. Thank you for that. Brian, hopefully we said your name right.
You did. You nailed it.
BVW, you've been great. Such a great honor.
Thank you guys. Thanks for your interest.
Real quick, I do have your contact information, so I'll be contacting you. Our show ends at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, which should be about 6 p.m. your time, so we'll talk more off air. I'll send you, on behalf of the show, your Captain Kirk. Thank you so much. Anything that you want to go ahead and plug for your comedy, as far as, of course, the Toys That Made Us, or anything else, you can go ahead and do that now.
I mean, I got to be honest with you, as cheesy and possibly stupid as this may sound, I don't want to plug anything but the Toys That Made Us. That's all I want to talk about. We're doing a lot of things with a lot of people. I'm here to talk about toys, and that's all I want to talk about.
This is Brian Volk-Weiss, the great man himself, better known as VK. It's BVW. Great guy, creator of the Toys That Made Us. Check it out, December 22nd on Netflix. Can't wait for it. What a great guy. Me and you will be talking off air very soon. Brian, thank you much for your time. And we can't wait for the possible season 2 of the Toys That Made Us, and even talk about the toys that should have never happened. Thank you much for your time, Brian.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Everybody, that was Brian Volk-Weiss, creator of the Toys That Made Us. Thank you much for your time. Saltine, hopefully I have